The Bible Treasury. A monthly magazine of papers on scriptural subjects. Article 26, Volume 5, 1865. The Sheaf of Firstfruits. Leviticus 23 verses 9 to 14, Luke 24 verses 44 to 53. 1865, 342. The sheaf of firstfruits was, typically, Christ risen. On the morrow after the Sabbath it was waved, and that was the first or resurrection day. In the ordinance of waving it we observe the following particulars. 1. The Jew, that is, Israel as a nation, was to bring the sheaf to the priest. 2. The priest was to wave it before the Lord, to be accepted for Israel. 3. Israel was, then, to offer a burnt offering with its meat and drink offering. 4. Israel was not to eat of the new corn, in any shape, till this was done. This ordinance, very simple in its materials, was very significant of the way of a believer or of the church touching the resurrection of Christ, as we see that way presented to us in Luke 24 verses 44 to 53. 1. The disciples bring the sheaf, that is, they apprehend and believe the fact of the resurrection. Verses 44 and 45. 2. Christ, the true priest, teaches them that this resurrection was for them, that the sheaf was accepted of the Lord for them, and he gives them a blessed pledge of this. Verses 46 to 51. 3. They make their offerings, because of this, offerings of worship and joy. Verse 52. 4. They know of no eating, no feast, no communion, but in connection with the waved sheaf, or risen Christ. They occupy the temple only as in company with that very story. Verse 53. Such is the simple and direct illustration of this beautiful type, which the earliest moment, I may say, in the experience of the saints after the resurrection of the Lord affords us. The principal point of attraction, at least, at present with me, is in Luke 24 verse 53, connected, as it is, with Leviticus 23 verse 14. The disciples can do nothing but rejoice in the wave sheaf. It affords them their one commanding, absorbing thought. They fill the temple, not as worshipping Jews, with sacrifices and remembrances of sins, but as believing souls with thanksgiving for the resurrection and the remission of sins. It was the first day of harvest with them. They have lost sight of the temple, save as the due spot for rendering offerings on the waving of the first fruits. And in all this we have another form of owning, as David did in his day, a new place of service. 1 Chronicles 20, the wave sheaf or Christ risen tells us, like Ornan's threshing floor, that mercy rejoices over judgment. David, therefore could not seek the former altar, or the high place at Gibeon, and so the disciples here forget the old temple, or the temple in all its wonted services, except that which belonged to the first day of harvest. The resurrection had already done much sweet service for them. It had removed their fears, cleared up many a doubt and perplexity, gratified their poor wounded affections, anticipated the toil of their hands at the great stone of the sepulchre, and the value of their spices for the body of their Lord. But now it does the sublimest service of all for them. It changes their religion. As it had already rolled away the heavy stone for them from the door of the sepulchre, so does it now roll away a yoke which neither they nor their fathers had been able to bear. It builds a temple for them fairer than Solomon's. They serve now in the sense of the victory of Jesus, in the waving before the Lord of the sheaf of firstfruits accepted for them. They returned to Jerusalem with great joy, and were continually in the temple, praising and blessing God. Theirs was now, as the church's still is, the religion of the victory or resurrection of Christ.